Meiosis and genetic variation, part 2. We've already talked about the purpose of meiosis, that it takes you from two sets of DNA to one set of chromosomes, two sets of chromosomes to one set. Meiosis and genetic variation, part 2. We've talked about the purpose of meiosis. In meiosis, we go from two sets of chromosomes to one, diploid to haploid. The entire purpose is to go into, to make cells that have half the normal DNA, to make gametes, sperm and egg. We're going to talk now about how we do that. Through meiosis, a diploid cell goes through division twice. And the division looks just like mitosis, except it happens 2 times. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase happens twice. Prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. Prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2. And it's the same set of steps, except you're going to end with 4 cells, which makes sense because you're dividing twice, and you're going to end with half the amount of DNA. So half of the DNA gives you the haploid cell. Okay? So in this case, we're going to start with one diploid cell. It has 2 sets of chromosomes. It's going to divide twice, and we're going to end with 4 haploid cells. That's what you need to remember about the process of meiosis. Now, we could get into all sorts of diagrams of how this happens and what each of the steps looks like. I don't care about any of that. What I care about you knowing. Start with 1 diploid, divide twice, end with 4 haploid. There's also this really cool thing that happens during meiosis called crossing over. And crossing over happens during prophase 1. And what happens is 2 pieces of DNA swap. So you can see that happening here in this section and this section where it swapped pieces of DNA. 2 homologous pieces of DNA. In other words, they have the same genes on them. It's not like either one of these gametes is going to miss out on having the total amount of DNA. They're all going to get the total amount. But they're going to have a different combination of that DNA. This increases genetic variability, which is good for a species. Genetic variability helps species survive. Okay? Genetic variability, the more variation there is between organisms, the more likely some of those organisms are going to survive. And in biology, survival to have kids is the name of the game. That is what we try to do as organisms. Survive long enough to reproduce. Okay? So crossing over, flipping pieces of homologous DNA increases genetic variability, helps the species survive. All right, in this video, you have learned we go through PMAT twice. 1 diploid cell divides twice, ends with 4 haploid cells. And we learned about what crossing over is.